Okay, my name is James Tillory, Jamestillrory. And what I'm about to show you is predatory mortgage lending crimes. And these crimes actually are intended to go on for years and years and years. The reason why that works for them is because it avoids generally a statute of limitations. By the time anyone finds out about a lot of these crimes, they'll start to come and say, well, you can't do anything about it now because, that was then and that kind of thing. We've always heard that, well, the actual time doesn't start until someone notices the crime. Then when you notice the crime, then you can say, well, from that point forward, you have 2 years or 4 years to do something about it, or your statute of limitation runs out. Well, there's always this question of when did you actually find out about it, you see? So, but anyway, and of course, it's a long-running crime. So it started years ago. And in this case, you're going to see a crime that started 15 years before they actually presented the fraud that they conspired to do 15 years earlier, okay? What it ends up being is grand theft. It ends up being financial exploitation, senior elder abuse, which is a violation of the code. It's a felony violation because of the amount of money involved here. And that's violation of Penal Code 368D and 368E. What you're going to also see is forgeries by the bank that people never knew about because the bank had hidden the fact that they had forged these documents to get the elders into a loan that they could not afford to do, okay? And so once they trapped them into this loan, they did an illegal term what's called churning. And so you understand that it's like treading water. You swim water, you know how you tread in water just to stay afloat? Well, churning is that same type of thing where they give you a loan to pay off a loan that you can't pay, okay? So, and so that you go to, in other words, you go to them and you say, I'm having trouble paying off these loans. You guys gave me this debt consolidation loan, but somehow I'm coming up short in the money. Well, what also happens in a situation like this is they're supposed to include in there also your financial expenses, like your monthly bills, your dental care, your doctor bills, your medication, your gas and food, all those types of things, utilities. Well, in this case, these weren't even figured in. So what happens is after you finish paying your mortgage loan and then you pay your monthly bills, you can't pay your monthly bills because after you finish paying the other things, you've got $200 and something left and you can't pay everything on that. And so that's why they would come up and say, we can't do this. But the bank would give them another loan and make it appear as if they could. When they did that, the bank actually was not even transferring any loan. They would take money from them, from the elders, to pay for another loan, and it was all done on paper.
What is the name of the elders?
The elders are Mr. and Mrs. Tillory. Arlister L. and Mary E. Tillory were the ones who were scammed by this loan. And it's still going on to this day because I'm the one who actually inherited the property and I'm the one who found all of these things out because I'm an accountant major. And I suggest that any of you, whenever you inherit some property or anything like that, if you don't have the knowledge yourself to go over the books for the family that passed down to you, have someone who has the knowledge and skill to go over all of the paperwork and everything that was handed you. It's yours now. It's your responsibility. And there's something may have happened in there that's going to affect you now and affect your inheritance. And of course they know that. And that's why they not only intended to steal from your parents, but they intended to steal from you also. Okay, so let's start now with the paperwork. What we have here on this end is the original deed that was very first paid off that my parents own the property. My dad originally got it on his VA loan. He was in the military, and he and my mom, they worked hard, and they got this was their very first grant deed where they actually owned the property. In 1949, it was paid off, okay? Then they had this one. They went into some debts and things like that and took out some loans, and they were able to pay those fine, and they renewed. They got another deed, grant deed, and that was in 1973. So now, then they run into these people. And what you're going to have here, you have a deed of trust here with a 15-year balloon payment. This started in 1993. In 1993, how old were they?
They were born in 1919.
They were born in 1919. 29, 39, 49, 59, 69. Okay, and then 4 more years. So they're 54 years old at that point, right? Am I right? I'm not right.
No. You did that right.
My math is bad.
Yeah.
Okay, 1919, 29, 39, 49, 59, 69. Oh, you're right. 79, 89. Well, I already went to 79, 89, and I said 93.
Yes.
Okay, so they're 74 years old. I apologize. At 74 years old, they brought them into this. Now they're well into their years as elders. Elders are at the age, actually it was earlier then, but now the legal age to be an elder is 65 years old. The law states California financial exploitation, fraud, and senior elder abuse. Real estate predatory lending, elder abuse. If, for example, you offer a senior citizen a loan, knowing there's no way he or she can repay it, or you lock an elder into a loan with a balloon payment that is impossible to pay, all in an effort to increase your commission, prosecutors can file financial elder abuse charges against you for unscrupulous practices. These are laws that we're quoting from now. That is the California Financial Exploitation, Senior Fraud or Elder Abuse Law, California Penal Code 368D and 368E. That is a felony. Here's the first one. Okay, after that, they run into these people. Now, these people solicited them after they'd already trapped them into this loan. This is a solicitation letter proving that they were solicited. That's another crime. You bring that before the court, and they want to know, did you solicit these people or did they come to you? Well, because this is racketeering, influence, corrupt organization, and you're going to see that by the time we're done, many of these banks and many of these people are involved in getting bad loans and passing them along to cover up the crimes that they committed. Okay, so once they did that, they solicited them and they passed them into this loan. If you look here, I'll hold it up for you so you can see it. This loan says that it will be paid off by May 1st, 2025. Mr. Tillory passed away at the age of 86 years old in 2006. Mrs. Tillory passed away at the age of 94 at 2014. It's nowhere close to 2025. So what you see is there's no way they could have ever paid this loan off. It was a fraud and a false pretense all along. Okay.
They would have had to live to 106 years old in order to be able to pay that off.
Right. So now, here's a lot of other loans associated with that. In this package, when they very first took this loan out, you know, you get your financial information and you go down to them. They solicited you. So you go down and see what they're talking about. So you take all the information they tell you to bring, all your financial information, things that they're going to need. And what they do is you never get to touch this. Only the bank people get to touch this. And you give them their information and they write it all down. They wrote down falsifications in here. We're not going to get into all that because we want to get to the real meat of the fraud here. Because what you're about to see is a forgery. when the Tillerys gave them the financial information about how much they earned in income every month, it was about $3,592. Okay. This is the most crucial part of it, so we won't go into the other stuff, although it's there are other things here. Then, and this was done in the office, of course. They had to do this in the office. And a lot of times at the bottom, they'll show you where it was actually done. Now, in this case, they didn't even mark that it was face-to-face interview. They have face-to-face interview by mail or by telephone. Well, we know it had to be face-to-face interview because they have to see the documents. You have to bring your identification. All the time, any of you who have ever bought property and had to go and get a loan like this, you know that you have to provide all that evidence. Okay.
What year did that start? What year is that signed?
This here was in 1995. Well, a couple of years again after once they had trapped them into that, they come along and solicit them. Okay.
So at that time they were 76.
Right.
Still seniors according to the law.
Right. Then, in finalizing the loan, Mr. and Mrs. Tillory never knew this. And a lot of times when they come and they want you to sign the loan and be finished, they'll bring a loan package and they'll send a notary public. And a lot of you know this. They'll have a sticky on there that says sign here. Stickies where you have to sign. You never really go over it again. You went over that before. When you're elders, you think you can trust these people. And of course, and you should be able to. This is what you call a breach of the trust, breach of the public trust. These deeds of trust, you should have never trusted these people because, of course, you're going to see why. So this says by telephone. Okay. Now, in other words, what happened here was by phone they told them we're sending these people out. We got your loan finished. It's all prepared for you. When they brought the loan to them to sign, the bank had forged their information. You see, totally different information here. In fact, where they had said that they made a certain amount of money per month is now up to $9,900.24 per month. Now, where do they get figures like this? The fact of the matter is that the Tillerys did not qualify for the terms of this loan. Okay? Now, maybe if they've given them some loan terms that they could qualify, that's another matter. But they did not qualify for the terms of this, so they forged the income information to make it appear as if they could put them legally into this loan when they never could. They could not do that. The Tillerys didn't know this. So what happened was they sent a courier out, he got them to sign it, and then he went back to the bank. When he went back to the bank, he supposedly lost the information. And you're going to see proof of that in a few minutes. I'm just telling you now that that's why there's two of these. So you would want to say, well, they had a chance to catch their mistake themselves, or if you want to call it a mistake. But on the second one, they have the same forgeries. Okay?
A difference of income by $6,000.
Now, and these are signed at different dates, so that you understand. I'll show you that too, so that you can see that the discrepancy in the signing dates. You might want to come up a little closer to see these. You got 5-5, you got 5-3, you've got 5-9, you've got 5-9, 595, 595, 428, 5395. Here you have two different dates. You have 5995 and 5395. Then you have 5995 and 5395. Okay. So there's two different dates of signing that they sign those. 5/5 and 5/9. And 5/3, whatever that is. There's three different signing dates. You tell me. Okay, so let's move right along. Okay, and this is all part of the pretty much the same package. They incorporated multiple deeds of trust because they didn't qualify for the loan. Once they finished the loan calculations, they were short. They were $25,000 or so short. So they would add another one to make up for that. Now that gave them two deeds of trust. Why? Okay, you're going to find this information out yourself. It shouldn't have been done that way, but that's how they get around these things. That's how they get around these things. Okay, now we're going to talk about right here. We're going to talk about the fact that this bank is Long Beach Mortgage Company. Okay, they were the ones who put them in this loans where they forged the documents. You'll see the name of these people on here. Where did their name go? There it is. Long Beach Mortgage Company. Okay, they're the people who did these forgeries. Now they're the face you see on the front. Because behind a lot of these guys, you have a financier, you have other people who are involved and they put money in. When you look far enough into it, you'll find out that there's a company called Advanta Finance Corporation. You see that right here. They're also involved in this. Advanta Finance Corporation. Okay? Long Beach Mortgage Company. They're connected in this whole fraud. Okay. There are other people connected too, but I'm pointing them out right now for a specific reason. You'll see that a little bit later on. Okay. So now you have these, they're churning here. They're churning. These are all different loans. This one's May 1st, 2025, 2025, 2025. Always to include balloon payments. Now you see this one says paid in full. What happened here, we start to get to where some of these are going to be paid. But they couldn't afford to pay them. What these are loans that they gave them to pay off the loan that they couldn't pay. That's what we call churning. They were just keeping them churning. So it's like you owe me $500. You can't pay it. So I give you another $500 loan, but you got to give me a couple of $100 and I'll loan you $500 more. Okay? But I never give you $500 more. I just put it on paper and tell you, okay, well, you're good. Just keep on making your payments. So you keep on making your payments, but you really can't still afford it. So when it comes up again, I do it to you again. And I just get more money from you and say, okay, we'll keep it going. Just keep paying. Okay.
Loan shark.
Yep.
Yeah. What happened here is after they finished those loans, you'll see Long Beach Mortgage Company here. And I'm going to read this for you. Welcome, new customer. As part of the ongoing quality control system, a percentage of loans are selected each month on a random basis for audit. This audit is performed in accordance with government and private investor regulations. It is intended to reaffirm that appropriate procedures were followed in obtaining the information for completion of your loan application. Please check the appropriate answer to the questions below and return this cover letter attached to the application in the enclosed stamped envelope. If you need or would like to make a comment, please feel free to do so in the spaces provided. Okay. They actually gave them the original, you're going to see this, the original information that the Tillorys had given them. So when they handed it over to people for an audit, The audit people never see the forgery. That's slick, huh? They see this. So when my mom and dad signed it and said, well, yes, that's the information we gave you, this is a crime. They covered it up like that. So they give this to the people to audit. And so they never see that. Here's the questionnaire that they had my mom and dad do. And I'll go through those questions one at a time. They actually, this is in my mom and dad's handwriting. I think there's more of my dad's handwriting. Yeah, because my mom writes neater than he does. But my mom and dad's signature at the bottom. So in the questionnaire it says, are you presently living in the property purchased? Yes. I'm only going to skip to the ones that they actually checked. Were you given the following at the time of the application? A special information booklet explaining explaining the settlement cost involved in purchasing a home? No. A consumer handbook on adjustable rate mortgages? Yes. A good faith estimate, written estimate of mortgage closing costs? Yes. Were you personally interviewed at the time of the application? Yes. So there's a proof that was done in the office. Did the interviewer give you any forms that you personally delivered to your employer for completion? No, because they're retired. They're living on the retirement income. And also other adult jobs. My dad did furniture. My mom did nursing care because she's a retired nurse. And in fact, one of her patients at that time was the retired General Shepard. He's a 4-star general. He lives in Coronado. He was the commander of the Pacific Fleet, the U.S. Pacific Fleet. She was his personal nurse. So she earned some money from that also. And that's why as retired people, you would say, well, gee, how did they make, an income of, $3,500 a month? That's pretty good for a couple of old people, in retirement. Well, of course, they were still working, even though they were retired. Okay, let me go on with the questionnaire. Did the interviewer give you any forms that you personally delivered to your employer? Okay, we did that. Did the interviewer give you any forms that you personally delivered to financial institution for completion? No. You may have signed blank verifications of employment, deposit, mortgage, and rental to be left with the interviewer. Did you sign any other blank forms? No. Were all of the forms given to you explained satisfactorily? No. Were all of the forms given to you explained satisfactorily? No. Were all of the forms given to you explained satisfactorily? Did you borrow any of the forms that you used in closing? Yes. Did you borrow any of the funds? I'm sorry. Did you borrow any of the funds? I look stupid on that because I know it should have said funds, but that didn't come out of my mouth. And this is interesting because why did they have to borrow funds for the loan? It goes to what I was saying a little bit earlier. Did you borrow any of the funds, the money, that you used in closing? Yes, because they couldn't pay for it. All right. Okay, let's go on. Please rate your experience with our company as follows. 1, superior, 2, good, 3, average, 4, poor, 5, inadequate. They have circled 5 completely here at the top. And when you go ahead and you read it, it says, your overall experience with our company, 5. The service given to you by the loan processor, 5. The loan processor in terms of keeping you informed during the processing of your loan, 5. And I'm just saying that because they circled this, they didn't actually check it. So I look at this as being a second indicator. The loan officer that took your application, 5, inadequate. Your satisfaction with our handling of any problems during closing and processing, 5, inadequate. The representation at the closing on explanation of all your closing documents, 5, inadequate. So what they're saying here is that You people didn't do anything that was even poor or average or good or superior. Everything was inadequate. They're long dead, but this speaks to this day. Now, this is what they wrote on the back. What has been the most positive aspects of your dealings with our company? Sorry, not anything. Not anything positive. We were very disappointed. We would not like to lose our home. We would not like to lose our home after all these years. So evidently they felt something was wrong. They hadn't even finished churning them yet. There's more going. The next question. What has been the least positive aspects of your dealing with our company? We feel like we were took because we are senior citizens. That's bad.
In his own handwriting. Somebody that's in that age that shouldn't have to be dealing with any of that.
Right. Okay, it goes on. And he's speaking of Laura here. He's talking about, what did I do with Laura's letter? It's somewhere. I'm going to skip over that right now. Laura is one of the people who originally contacted them about doing the loan. And she says, my dad says, Laura told us after we had signed papers and they had been notarized that they were lost by the courier and had us to sign a second set. And I'm still not comfortable with that. We saw the two sets. They're both forgeries. Our property is still being carried on public record as with Long Beach Mortgage after being sold to Ford Consumer Corporation almost immediately, and we have not been able to get it straight. The checks has cleared our bank, but we are being charged for the August 1st, 1995 payment, $595.39. We would like this corrected as soon as possible. Marion R. Lister Tillory. Okay. So, you know, they feel like they were cheated and they were took, and they were. They just didn't know how. Okay, here we go again. I'm going to continue. Here's some more loans that they were churning. This one has a 15-year balloon payment.
What year was that loan created?
That year was created in 1996. Because, see, the years progress when they come back and say, wait a minute, we're not getting anywhere. We can't pay these loans. So in 1996, they gave them another loan to pay loans that they couldn't pay. And they started paying off the loan. The bank was paying off the loans, not the elders. You see, that's why you see paid. You start to see these paid loans that the bank was paying off by churning.
So 1996 makes them 77 years old.
So that's another one. You go on, you got one here, 1996, $103,000. It's not payable until November 20th, 2026. It's still not 2026. Right now, the year is 1919. The last elder died in 2014, 5 years ago. Her husband died before that.
They would have had to live to 107 to be able to pay off this entire loan.
That's all illegal. All of that down there is felony. Okay, let's turn the corner. Now we're up to 1999. And so you never really noticed that Advanta Finance Corporation was hidden behind Long Beach Mortgage. Unless, of course, you got deeper into the documents. In 1999, it's getting close to where they're thinking, well, probably these elders aren't going to live much longer. But if anybody sees that we gave them a loan that can't be paid off until 2026, that's obvious false pretense and a fraud. So they changed up. What we have right here is Advanta again. Okay, but this time they come as Advanta, not Long Beach Mortgage. Okay. And guess who does it?
Read the name.
Advanta Mortgage Corporation and Advanta National Bank. So none of these say Advanta Finance. So you wouldn't think that the same people are coming to do this now, but they are. It's a cover-up. Okay? So they give them this other loan, and this loan, it gets rid of the, monthly payments that can't be paid until 2026, and they give them a 15-year loan that will be paid off in 2014. The year my mother passed, but she actually passed before the loan came to its maturity. I paid the loan off for my parents up to that point, to the loan maturity, and not a penny more, because of course the rest of it is a crime. I feel like this, okay, we paid you for the loan amount month by month by month by month, but I also did that to prove that they could not do this. Had I not paid it off to maturity, it would have never been paid off even to maturity. So I did that, and I said, okay, fine. When I contact these people, I'll tell them, get your loan and get the hell out of my face, before I sue you, and which is pretty much what happened. So here's this loan, and you'll notice that on this loan, it says there's a balloon payment. You have it marked right there. There's a balloon payment. On this portion of the loan, it's not marked that there is a balloon payment. This is going to be very important to remember this when we get further down the line, because they come back later and provide this information to the court in order to conceal the crime to the court. And they provide the court with this and not this, so that the court doesn't know that they committed a crime, a felony crime, and committed elder abuse. Okay. This is also part of the loan. That's the note. So in 2013, we had decided that we were going to start the process. I had promised my mom and dad I was going to take care of it. I saw my mom was getting very frail in 2013. I didn't think that she was going to last much longer. And so I started the process. She wrote a letter to her congresswoman. Here's the letter right here. It's going to have her signature. That's her signature right there. Okay. To the Congress of the United States, House of Representatives, Congresswoman Susan Davis. Okay. And she made her complaint that I've got this bad mortgage and I want someone to do something about it. Okay. In this explanation here, it's 2 pages, there's nothing that mentions anything about wanting or needing a loan modification. Because you have to understand, loan modifications are done generally when your finances, things change or something of that nature. Your income changes, expenses, something happens, and now you're having a little difficulty, and so you go to them and say, well, because of these things and these things, can you help me out and give me a loan modification? And a good bank will do that. They'll say, okay, yes, we'll work with you. We can understand that. That's very reasonable. They'll give you a loan modification. In this case, there's no loan modification. And you know why?
Because it's a crime.
You can't modify a crime. Okay. Remember that. Never try to modify a crime. You don't modify crimes.
You report them.
Okay, let's move along. So, Congress then, I left out the letters from the consumer finance. I'm gonna have to skip over that. Right here, after she did that, they contacted J.P. Morgan Chase. J.P. Morgan Chase sent the Congress falsified documents. So the Congress said something's wrong here, and I left out her letter too. Darn it! Now, so the Congress sent the complaint to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. That's a federal agency that looks into these kinds of things. And in that letter, they said that, look, there's something wrong with this loan, and Ms. Tillory needs a loan modification. No, put that back. Ms. Tillory needs a loan modification, and she's one of my constituents, and I want you to look into it. So then Consumer Financial Corporation, a Financial Protection Bureau, they contact us, and they say that we understand that you need a loan modification. We got a letter forwarded to us from Congress, and we want to help you with a loan modification. And they also changed her name from Tillory to Tilroy. So I contacted them and I said, wait a minute. I said, this is not, first of all, this is not Tilroy, this is Tillory. And we never asked for a loan modification. You can't modify a crime. So I said, forget about them, okay? And I apologize, I have that information, but I forgot to put it in here because there's so much, and we were rushing to get this done. You'll probably see it later in another thing. Okay, so, because everything I'm telling you is true, don't think that it's not. Okay, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is inserts right here. They come with that. So basically it's another kind of cover-up. We look at it as being a cover-up, and you'll see why as we go along, where the government then says, well, we see that the bank has sent us false documents and information that they haven't sent us the right stuff. We'll go to Federal Bureau, we'll change her name, and we'll tell them to do a loan modification. All that is a loan modification in this instance would be an alteration of the actual document. You get rid of the crime documents and you give them another one. So you never do that. Okay. Then we go to sue them. My mom passed away, actually, during that process. And I continued on because I promised her and my father that I would continue on and I would take care of this. So here's the lawsuit. The lawyer filed it. You'll see my father's name in the list, Arlister Tillory, because he was one of the principals on the loan, even though he had passed earlier, and my mom was named as the principal on the loan. This is some of the things that these people do. When I told him, I said, you shouldn't be using my father's name, you should be using my mother's name, because she's the one who's actually been dealing with the bank since my father's death. She actually signed documents and everything. Her name is alone is on there, but he is in the background. Anyway, the lawyers do what they want to. They don't care. Okay, so we filed a lawsuit. The lawyer, during the lawsuit, got together with the bank, J.P. Morgan Chase. I forgot to tell you how J.P. Morgan Chase came in. J.P. Morgan Chase bought Advanta Finance. Okay, so they came in 2007. That document was actually on the top over there. No, but I don't need it right now. I have the document right there where J.P. Morgan Chase sent the information. They bought it. Also, what's missing here is they rewrote the loan. Now, I can't provide that because my brother somehow lost the information. That's part of what Congress was trying to get from them. They said, we want to see this loan. You bought the loan. We want to see it. Well, Chase refused to send it. Why? It's evidence that they knew that the loan was bad. They had to, because they rewrote it. They didn't just have these documents. they had these documents when they bought Advanta, but then they rewrote it and they sent it on Chase letterhead documents. Now they still have that somewhere, and we're going to have to get it eventually. Okay, you can bet that. But they're going to fight, just like they wouldn't give it over to Congress. They're going to fight not to give that out, because that's proof that they know that there was that these documents was a part of a fraud. So what happened in the lawsuit, they provided forward this one. They gave this original that Advanta had. You never see that J.P. Morgan is in there. Okay, even in the lawsuit. Okay, so the lawyer then commits fraud with the bank lawyers and tried to do a loan modification.
Your lawyer's name was? The lawyer that you hired to represent you, his name is?
She wants me to put you on Front Street.
Yes, the lawyer's name is?
Okay, his name was Erickson Davis. He worked with, and we had actually hired Real Estate Law Center, PC. The PC stands for Penal Code. They knew that this was a bad loan, and they came forward and said, he said, I've had 15 years experience. He said that this loan ranks in the top 3 of the top 10 worst predatory lending frauds I've ever seen. And so, of course, it is. And so he took the case. But he threw the case by trying to do a loan modification. And here's the judge's statements. The judge did a statement afterward. And a lot of judges don't do this. But he was very thorough in talking about what this attorney did and didn't do during his presentation, even though the court had continued to reprimand him about what his presentation was. He presented a fraud case. He didn't present our real case. He presented a fraud case, and then he tried to work with the bank to get me to do a loan modification. They wanted to get all my information and income and all this and that, and transfer the loan onto me. They wanted me to assume the loan. Of course, you never assume a fraud. A fraud is a crime. I don't buy crimes. Thank you. Okay.
When you hired the lawyer, what did he promise you would get out of the lawsuit? What did he guarantee you?
Well, no, you can't guarantee anything. But what he actually had in his statement was that, the $75,000 damages on there were 3 or 4 different issues that he brought up, and that all of the loan would be, of course, rescinded, in other words, wiped out, and that they were going to have to pay back all of the money that they had received from us, which seemed fair, but I don't know. But anyway, we were supposed to win an award on that, which he threw that, though. So after he threw that case, I complained to the state bar that this lawyer is crooked. First of all, he's supposed to be doing a lawsuit against these people, and he ended up working with them and then try to convince me to get involved against the law. That's a crime. The state bar,
just one recap. So he said to you that this was the worst loan that he had ever seen.
Well, not that he'd ever seen, the top 10.
Top 10 worst loans that he ever seen. He promised that the loan would be rescinded, meaning wiped away. That all the money that your parents had paid up until this point was $220,000.
Okay, well, we don't have to get into those specifics.
Plus $75,000. That's what he said, right?
Okay, $75,000 per. See, they have different counts. Okay, so per count, if he wins on these different issues, then of course $75,000 per each issue. Okay, so but those are specifics. We don't really need to go into the money amount award and all of that. What we want to get into is the frauds that have been committed. Okay, so now this attorney turned out to be dishonest. I complained to all of these various agencies after that had happened, and you'll see that I was Bureau of Real Estate, the Department of Business Oversight.
What dates?
These are all in 2016. Right after this case was dismissed by the judge. It was dismissed with prejudice. Okay, so he damaged the case, and I believe he might have done so intentionally, because when I told him I'm not going to do any loan modification and cover up the crime, he and the lawyers for the bank, threw the case. Okay, he threw the case. He obviously was working with them anyway, so he threw the case, and so the judge dismissed it with prejudice. I needed to get it back in the court, and he created that problem. So I went to all of these people and I complained. Also, I went to the Department of Justice. Yeah, you can go along and get those so they see what I'm talking about.
So by the mid of 2016, your case was dismissed with prejudice.
Mm-hmm.
And then you began to notify the Bureau of Real Estate. You sent a letter to them.
Mm-hmm. Then we got to the state bar.
2016.
Now, the state bar did an investigation of my lawyer because of the complaint I filed. In this investigation, I'll read part of it to you. This is the State Bar of California, Office of the Chief Trial Counsel Enforcement Unit. I'm going to skip over a little of it because they asked me for certain things. They subpoenaed documents from the bank. They subpoenaed documents from my attorney. They subpoenaed documents from me proving that he was my attorney, that there was a contract, that he had been paid, and they actually subpoenaed all these documents to find out if he actually did try to do a loan modification when he should not have, which is a crime. The investigation from the State Bar said this.
What date is that?
Hang on. This is my authorization giving them the enforcement unit. I gave them my authorization to do this.
Do an investigation.
To do the investigation and to open the case. In the matter of a State Bar investigation, declaration in support of issuance of subpoena ducis tecum. Caitlin Ellen Morin, she was the investigator, declared as follows. I am employed as an investigator by the Office of the Chief Trial Counsel, State Bar of California, 845 South Figueroa Street, Los Angeles, California. If called to testify, I would and could completely testify to the following. All of the facts stated herein are within my personal knowledge, except those facts stated on information and belief, and as to those facts, I believe them to be true. If called as a witness in this matter, I could competently testify thereto. The matter referred above is currently under investigation to determine if there exists a sufficient factual basis for further proceedings by the State Bar. I am informed and believe that the custodian of records named, and that's the subpoena to Chase Bank, and relevant information proceedings are warranted by reason of the following alleged facts. The Tillory's Real Estate Law Center represent him lawsuit against his lender regarding his property, however, may have collected advance fees to provide loan modification services in violation of State Bar rules. A review of Mr. Tillory's mortgage account held at J.P. Morgan Chase is needed in order to substantiate the above referenced alleged facts. I believe that this request is consistent with the scope and requirements of this investigation, wherefore the declarant requests that a subpoena ducis tecum for the documents be requested and issued. I declare under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of California that the foregoing is true and correct, executed this 30th day of 2016, November 2016.
Say the date again? What date did you?
November 2016.
November 2016.
Okay. So then they write to me. I'm writing to inform you that on August 22nd, 2017, the California Supreme Court ordered that Mr. Davis be disbarred for the practice of law in California based on misconduct that he committed in a matter unrelated to your case. Now, how could that happen? Okay, here I'm back again. Some of the documents are out of order, so I'm going to just skip ahead for now because this actually is about things that are happening with me right now concerning the property. There are a lot of crimes that have been committed, okay, but it all comes back to me because I inherited it. So we skip over the bar. Erickson Davis got disbarred. They committed crimes. Nothing happened to the other lawyers. Then, as soon as that was done, and State Bar disbarred that lawyer, then the bank lawyers turn around and claim a default and foreclosure on the property. So they've escaped now for a while. Okay, so they did that, and they sold the property to this company here, who is called Breckenridge Property Fund 2016 LLC. They filed a lawsuit for an unlawful detainer against me. Now, when they originally had bought the property, they came to my house. All of this is on audio video with them coming to the house. And I spoke to them, and I told them about these frauds. And I told them that they bought a house that had been unlawfully sold. It was an illegitimate sale because it was embezzlement and a fraud, and they should go to the law to help them with it. Instead of them doing that, then they went to the court and filed an unlawful detainer suit against me. And in that an unlawful detainer suit, they claimed they didn't know who I was. Some guy was living there in the property, like a squatter or something, and unlawfully detaining them from getting the property that they bought. It's not true whatsoever. Okay, and so I answered those lawsuits, and this is what they did. When they went, and this goes to what I told you earlier, when they went and filed their unlawful detainer, they provided the deed of trust from Advanta, and they gave that deed of trust to the judge to prove that their case, and this was done, what it actually says, these exhibits are in support of plaintiff's motion for summary judgment. What we're going to be interested in right now is the deed of trust that they have that was recorded on 10/1999, Exhibit 2. That's exactly what this is. This is the lawyer's actual filings, Exhibit number 2. These are the deed of trust that you saw back there. There it is, page for page. But when you get to this page, remember I told you this box is not checked. That says Balloon Rider. Now, these documents, as it says here, any of these notes that are added on are incorporated into this document. They cannot be removed. So they concealed the fact that there was a balloon rider, and so they didn't even show them the other note where it was checked that there's a balloon rider, and it's $120,000.
When they said they
which is
didn't
unlawful.
show them, who is them? Who
The
didn't
court,
they
the
show?
court. They didn't show the court.
Okay.
This, I already said, this is the lawsuit that they filed for an unlawful detainer, trying to prove that this property belonged to them, and that they knew what my dispute was going to be. And so they want to get the court to rule as if everything looks fine here. And of course it does, because the court doesn't know that there is a balloon payment, and it was $120,000, and that is a felony crime against the people who own the property. So there's fraud on the court. So the court, instead of validating whether or not these documents are legitimate or not, they gave the property to these people who filed this based on a fraud. Then they decided that they're going to force the fraud on me. And so we come around to this side, and we notified the court. We notified all law enforcement agencies and everyone about the fraud. They all ignored me and then came and charged me with unlawful detainer, and they want me to be evicted from the property.
The people who were notified, to be specific, was the district attorney's office, who you're supposed to notify about any property fraud.
Let me just show you another law. Forgery. Penal Code 470 PC, forgery. California Penal Code 470 PC, forgery takes place when you knowingly alter, create, or use a written document intending to commit a fraud. So there are a lot of things here. There are other things that they committed in this. But the point is being that a lot of people don't understand that anytime someone changes, they think that it's something they have to make up altogether. Anytime someone changes the actual information that you gave them on a document, especially a document like that, they forged your information. They have your permission to change that. So that's forgery. California Penal Code. That's a felony. Okay. So all these crimes, but I'm the one who's being, okay? So we're gonna stop here. There's a lot more. We're gonna.
The final thing that needs to be said is that the one who was defrauded, we'll say that the judge who approved the default judgment, Judge Creep, was defrauded. Well, let's just say that he was defrauded, okay, and he didn't know that these people put forth fraudulent documentation. Well, then I went and gave the judge the actual truth of the situation.
Not
I
only
presented
that,
it to the judge.
Let me speed you up. It was a couple minutes ago. What she actually took to the court and to all the law agencies in San Diego was the documents that were hidden. We actually gave them the proof that these documents were not included and that document is a fraud. So the court knew it right after it happened within a month, and so did every law agency. Nevertheless, they came and attacked me and tried to put me out. So you would, no, and believe me, nobody can ever bring a judgment on some falsified, fraudulent documents and make it stick. What they're trying to do now is force a fraud on me. Force. Eviction is an action of force. They're forcing this fraud on me. So that's where we're at right now. We'll get back to you later. We're running out of time. I gotta go. Thank you so much. Okay.